Well, good afternoon, everybody. We're on the final leg here, and we have an anchor team up here, and the quality will be as good as we have seen with the other keynotes, beyond a shadow of a doubt. So remember, after this keynote, we have a drawing for several prizes, pretty good ones too. So hope you all had a good day yesterday and a good day today. Is that so? All right. I got it. So we welcome Walter Jones and Mike Candler. Walter, you were here last year, brought us up to speed on the new Parkland Hospital. I mean, the state-of-the-art thing is just exciting as heck, and I'm excited to hear what he's going to tell us this year. Must be real good because he brought Michael with him to help him tell it. So anyhow, no more long speeches except for these two gentlemen, and come up.
Thank you. Hey, good afternoon, everyone. Well, this is really exciting. I'm looking forward to it. We saved all the fun and best information for last, so hopefully you guys enjoy it too. So I'm a project manager, senior design engineer working on the Parkland project, and I work for TEECOM, and I was hired to work on all the technology systems, low voltage, nurse call, anything technology related. And I've been on the project for the last couple years. So I'm going to share some information with you today. Hopefully it's valuable to you. So technology planning for any organization is a really tough thing, especially when you're going to spend $1 billion on a hospital that won't even see its first patient for 5 to 7 years. You know, technology is changing rapidly, and from a technology planning and design standpoint, one of the things we had to do was kind of look into the future and try to vision what were some of the things from a technology perspective that patients, doctors, nurses, and staff would expect to have in the new hospital when it opened. And we had to make sure that we had thought about pretty much everything, early on in the project, and it was really difficult and it's challenging. But the way that we did that is we went out and we spoke with a bunch of technology firms like Microsoft, Google, Apple, IBM, GE, a whole host of firms, to try to understand what they were investing their research and development dollars in, what kind of products was on their roadmap and that they were developing. And out of those meetings, what we did is we came up with 5 trends that we focus on when we're designing buildings, and really any building, but especially hospitals that have very long lead time from the time you start designing to the time it sees its first patient. And the first trend that we find out there and that we look at is that everything in some way, shape, or form is connected to a network or the internet. Today and in the future, it'll be very common to buy a product and have an application come with it. Whether it's a refrigerator, a thermostat, even a pair of running shoes, everything's coming with an application of some sort that allows you to control, gather the data, and interact with the device or whatever it is in some way, shape, or form. And it allows you to control, gather the data, and interface through mobile applications. And that's really important, especially in a hospital where we have so many different electronic systems generating data information and people on the move. So mobility is also an important aspect. The second trend out there, and it's probably no surprise to anyone, is that social networking is changing the way and that people communicate, not only with one another, but also how they communicate with buildings, and how buildings communicate with people, and how devices communicate with people, and people communicate with devices. So there's this fundamental change in the nature of communication, and it's becoming social in nature and changing the way that people communicate with products and buildings. With all these people, products, and buildings connected to the internet in some way, shape, or form, they're generating huge volumes of data. And it's leading to this third trend towards data deluge, meaning that we have all this exhaust data available to us that we can use, and we can start to correlate cause and effect. We can start to draw conclusions as to what caused what reactions, And we have a better insight not only to cause and effect, but how people are using our facilities and our hospitals so that we can design better, more efficient departments and better buildings in the future. And the fourth trend is towards location. With all these mobile apps being used to socially connect with products, buildings, and people, and gathering data as part of the story, that all this data tells is not only when it happened, but where it happened, so that we can start to draw a correlation between where things occurred. Now, one of the major problems with using technology inside of a building, which 70% of all mobile phone usage occurs indoors in buildings, is that buildings that we're designing today, the LEED buildings, are designed with things in construction like low E glass with panes of glass, inert gases, metal or metallic films, and they don't allow radio signals into the building very well. So what we have to do is we have to supplement with what's called an indoor positioning system. Now for Parkland, that does not mean they'll have to allocate another $5 million to yet another technology system. What we can do is leverage. What we can do is we can leverage the building information model and integrate that information with a robust wireless network infrastructure to support indoor positioning systems that will allow IPS and other systems to deliver an experience that looks potentially something like this. There's a gentleman that is walking into an airport. This happens to be an airport in Hong Kong. And he uses his mobile phone to get directions. He opens his wayfinding application. And he sees a colleague of his out on his social network. He taps her icon, and he's able to have a live FaceTime chat with her. They agree to meet, and he asks the application to guide him to her location. And then a small pico projector in his phone projects an arrow on the floor in the direction he's supposed to walk. Now, while we probably won't go around projecting arrows on the floors in the new hospital,
It's not working.
we could imagine the usefulness of an application like this to guide us to people or places, especially in a very large, complex hospital like Parkland. The site is massive. That's why location and indoor positioning is so important. And everything you just saw in that entire video is entirely possible today, and it has been for the last 3 years, except for one piece, that the building has to integrate with that application. It has to participate with that mobile application. Oh, and that brings us to new interfaces, things we haven't even dreamed of, when now you kind of have. It's our fifth and final trend towards new interfaces. But things like Google Glass that present information to the user based on what they're seeing, and things like touch and different surfaces that are intelligent in buildings, and how those things or technologies are going to continue to evolve and change and integrate with our everyday lives and change the expectations of people working inside and using the new Parkland Hospital and other buildings. And if we think about the lifespan of all these disparate systems, the problem we're trying to solve here is that the building is meant to last 50 plus years. The interiors and the cables probably about 15 years, and electronics are changing every 2 to 3 years. Mobile technologies are changing every 18 months. So by the time we open the new Parkland Hospital, we'll have gone through many different generations of mobile phones, tablets, all kinds of technology. And people are going to want to use those, but we weren't even aware of them when we started designing. The iPad wasn't even out on the market when we started this project, so that's a big change. That was one of the problems that we were trying to solve, and that's what we're able to do about thinking about these 5 trends when we started designing. And ultimately, we're here to focus on the user experience. It's not whether we're using the latest and greatest technology, but how does the technology help us deliver a better customer experience, a better experience for patients, a better experience for doctors and nurses, and a better experience for visitors, anyone who walks inside the building. How can we improve their experience and deliver it in a way that they expect? And that's why we're able to use things like building information modeling and location and integration with things like the building information model. And while Parkland may not elect to implement everything you just saw on day one, due to cost, availability, and integration, the important point here is that we've designed a hospital for the future, a hospital that's flexible and that can adapt to whatever technology brings to it, certainly over the next 5 to 10, 15 years, and hopefully we got it right for the next 50 years. And so with this knowledge and wisdom, with our future trends investigation, we really start the process of technology planning once the project begins, and we start the design work. We start documenting the basis of design, or the schematic design narrative that describes each system and the requirements such as space, power, cooling, and create document templates to help us guide us in planning and tasks and the project progress. One of the tools that we use is a responsibility matrix, and we use this to make sure that every system that's in current project scope is documented, planned for, and that someone is responsible to deliver it from a budgetary standpoint as well as an implementation standpoint. The document evolves through the project life cycle, and it's updated and coordinated with schedule. And it's even being updated to this day as things change. Another important document that we use in technology planning is called a design decision log. And this document tracks key decisions made by any stakeholders in the project. This document not only helps us keep track of items that need to be researched, designed, specified, or drawn on plans, but it also keeps track of any major decisions that may impact project scope and budget. And part of the project planning, of course, includes a project schedule, and we must identify critical medical and technology systems in the schedule that require last responsible moment planning. With a very large phase project like Parkland, you can't purchase and install some of the systems and medical equipment too early and let that equipment sit for a long period of time until the hospital opens. For example, we're punching out one floor of the hospital this week, yet there are other interior spaces that are just starting construction. So buying equipment too early could really impact the schedule, budget, warranties, function of the equipment, and in some cases, new products or models will become available in the next year. But we also can't wait till too late and not hit the scheduled target dates for installation, testing, commissioning, and final inspections. So last responsible moment planning is very important. Technology space planning during schematic design and design development phases is where we really focus on technology space planning. We have to ensure that all the systems planned and that are in project scope have enough space while keeping in mind some space for growth and future capacity. You have to make sure that technology spaces are integrated into the building layout during design meetings, and that the architect and everybody on the team is aware that this is important space because the building has to operate. Without it, it isn't going to work too well. Sometimes it's hard getting them to realize that for some reason. We also design the network infrastructure to support today's network, allowing for spare capacity and migration to future network technology. Parkland fiber backbone is designed to support 40 and 100 gigabit backbones and network infrastructure, and it may not be implemented on day one, but it is ready and is planned for when the new equipment becomes available. They're ready for next generation networks. Other important space and design factors are redundant pathways for resilient network, planned data center growth for tomorrow's data demands, flexibility in cabling infrastructure for future systems, prefabrication options to help reduce installation costs, and a robust wireless network infrastructure for wireless technologies. One of the major systems that has to be planned for in today's building, as we discussed earlier, is a robust wireless network infrastructure, not only for the data network, but also for a distributed antenna system that provides cellular service for all mobile devices and as many carriers as possible to optimize user experience inside the building. If you can't get a call, send a text, or get on the internet on your mobile device in your building, your clients will not stay there, which means lost business. And in a hospital, these devices are used by visitors, patients, doctors, staff to communicate, and they have to work seamlessly. So we design for a day one equipment to provide service for planned systems, but we also design for future systems like real-time location services that are used to track medical equipment and staff. The infrastructure is designed and implemented now, and it will save on expensive post-construction installation costs at a later date and avoid any hospital service disruption. So ultimately, what we do at TEECOM is we design and create technology plans and specifications for communications, security, nurse call, audio, video, really anything technology related. And during the project lifecycle and through the various design phases of schematic design, design development, construction documents, we focus on making sure that we've captured all the client's requirements, assisted in technology planning to develop a fully coordinated set of project plans and specifications. And this is crucial to have a coordinated set of plans, really for any discipline, whether it be medical equipment, electrical, kitchen equipment, it doesn't matter. Our plans and specs have to be coordinated with the architectural floor plans and elevations and be in sync with power, furniture, medical equipment, any other trades that require technology. This is one task that is so important for any project. You have to make sure that you check all the data available to you and work with the other teams to make sure that you capture everything and that you get it right to reduce or eliminate changes due to lack of coordination and not presenting a complete set of construction documents. Integrating the building process with design, we use terms like design build, integrated project delivery, the lean process, and many other phrases or terms or methodologies. Parkland chose kind of an IPD light, if you will, and I really like to call it a collaborative project delivery process. They created a co-location space right across the street from our project site, and it's an open office where all the architects, designers, Parkland staff, everybody part of the project team early on sat and worked in these offices and collaborated. There are open meeting spaces with large technology rooms with projectors like this so that you can pull up plans and design and collaborate in real time on projection screens. And it was a truly collaborative working space and really helped to speed up the design process. In my opinion, the key to success of the Parkland project has been this collaborative approach where all the stakeholders, the owner, designers, consultants, contractors, everyone has participated in this project really, really early on. One of the key players has been the clinical liaisons that have been assigned to this project. These are real nurses that work at Parkland, and they have on average of over like 20 years experience. So, I mean, they know the hospital, they know all the staff. They were placed in a role as a liaison, kind of as a key stakeholder, and their main role is really communication and coordination. They know the right people that can come to meetings and make decisions, and they can follow up on items. Everybody knows them, and they worked hand in hand with the project team. And really, it's traditionally you would go out to a client, you'll meet with them, and you might send them an email or ask for something. It may take weeks to get an answer back. These folks have really helped get answers quickly and help get decisions made fast. One of the other items in planning for construction, Parkland project embraced early on, and these were key decisions that really helped keep us on schedule, was a move to do mock-ups, and they created a mock-up space early on that helped in space planning by designing and building a example patient room, and those are phased mock-ups, so even today you can walk into these mock-ups, they're fully finished with everything inside of them. You can take your staff and tour through these spaces. They've been really helpful in kind of trying to figure out last-minute coordination and details of design and make some key design decisions that probably would have been an oops later. Prefabrication was also implemented in the project. The contractor leased a space across the street from the project site and prefabricated pieces of the hospital. They actually prefabricated complete patient hospital bathrooms for each patient room. They're all the tile work, all the trim, everything that's in that bathroom, lights, everything is put in that bathroom at the prefabrication site, and then they are taken across the street and craned up and put into the building. And I think they were cranking out about 4 a day. They did over 750 of these bathroom pods. They prefabricated over 3 miles of mechanical and electrical racks that are usually you'll see as you're walking a construction site up in the hallways and corridors of buildings. And they prefabricated over 850 patient head walls where all the gases and electrical and data and everything are in the head walls. This prefabrication process enhanced the project schedule, maximized the quality of the finished product, and enhanced safety by allowing several trades to work safely at the same time, waist to shoulder height, instead of using ladders and kind of in a congested construction zone. So I want to talk a little about project management, construction administration on this project that I deal with every day. And each day I have kind of a regular project management routine, if you will. The task list is very long. There's email responses, meeting coordination, scheduling, documentation, budget tracking, RFIs, submittal reviews, field reports, issue tracking. It goes on, documenting processes, plus many, many more tasks and activities that get integrated and balanced into your daily schedule. And internally as a company, we use a project management software tool called Newforma. And this has been a great tool. It helps me organize all my project documents and kind of stay on track with all tasks and activities. Parkland also has implemented a project document management suite as well to track and manage all project documentation and activities. And part of my role as a PM in the construction administration process is to conduct site visits, weekly site visits, and generate field observation reports to verify the installation is proceeding in general conformance with the contract documents. We also assist in construction coordination activities, meetings to address field coordination issues, and assist in resolving any necessary documentation or field modifications. Plus, we keep an eye on quality control for the owner. The real challenge that any PM faces is trying to be proactive and spend your time being productive rather than reactive and putting out fires, and trying to stay one step ahead. And one of those things I think that's really essential is continuing education in project management, which you all are doing this week. Looking at new trends and tools in project management is really a valuable tool. And for me, this project has been an unbelievable experience. It is really an amazing project. We've been doing some research and development on new ways and additional tools to help us become more efficient at project management and construction administration activities. And one of those items that's been invaluable to the project has been the iPad. Most supervisors on the project, if not all, have an iPad on the job site with all their project plans and specifications on the site. They're able to download the most current project documents with just the tap of their finger each day when they arrive at the project site. The project is so huge, if you can imagine the amount of plans you'd be carrying out on the site, even just for one floor area in all the different disciplines, it's just almost impossible. So there's also all kinds of new software and applications available, like Bluebeam Review, Vela Mobile, Finish Line, GoodReader, as well as cloud-based applications like Dropbox and Google Drive for sharing documents and construction administration and project management activities. And one of the applications that I happen to like is called PlanGrid. PlanGrid allows you to view, annotate, and communicate all your project information from the field. It's a project collaboration tool that really saves time and money. Other cloud-based software like Bluebeam Review has increased the efficiency in documentation review process, where typically you'll have a document, you would send it to somebody, they'll review it, they'll send it on to somebody else, they'll review it. It takes a long time to get through that process. With some of these collaboration applications, you create a cloud-based review session, everybody can get it at the same time, mark up the documents, and it's really been a project management time saver. Access anytime, anywhere to project specs, specifications, plans, RFIs, any document that you may need in a meeting or out on the site. Once you get organized and learn the tools and the efficiency of anytime, anywhere, being able to provide an answer to a question in a meeting by just pulling it up on your iPad and just saying, yep, this is what we have in the project, has been really invaluable and has really saved tons of time. We've also started using these tools in our future design meetings, documenting the information, making revisions, user requirements gathering, in real time, capturing the data in a usable format for planned production work. I can sit down, meet with the user, kind of look at an area, what they need. I make the markups, the notes, whatever, and I can just with one touch send it to my production staff, and they'll start making the document revisions immediately, or take photos in the field on a punch report, and off it goes. And the main reason this all came about is the traditional site walks, we were using plans, in sheet plans, if you will, is just not working. It was just, like I said, too hard to carry these project documents for every discipline. And also trying to stay on top of having a current set was just time, the labor involved in making sure you had a current set before your site walk each week or month was impossible almost. The documents are changing. There's RFIs, so on and so forth, so you were spending a ton of time printing and trying to correlate and take sheets out. It was just not really working. So staying organized and having the most current set of plans on your iPad up to date with just a tap of finger is just awesome. Creating punch lists and field reports has become faster and easier, and it's just so much quicker to distribute and also track. Now, as we get closer to the opening date, we're still using this co-location office space to meet and do design review meetings with the users and to review the implementation plan of IT and medical equipment. We have a collaboration review meetings each week, and we're reviewing and marking up plans, creating equipment move plans in the Bluebeam review product. Parkland's using this process to review the spaces with project teams to review the space plan, create the telephone and computer port identification plan for each device and location, then importing the design review meeting notes into a database and issuing IP addresses and logging configuration information. The technology is changing rapidly, whether we're talking about trends in design or project management and construction administration. We use traditional methodologies and processes, but we're always looking ahead to see what new trends can help us design, build, and maintain better buildings and provide a better user experience. I enjoyed sharing this information with you today, and I hope that you'll be able to use some of it in your next project, and maybe it will help you develop a new application or process and help your project be successful. Thank you. Here's Walter Jones.
Okay. Thanks, Mike. Yep. Okay. So Mike's kind of laid the landscape, if you will, of some of the challenges that we had, particularly in the IT field. So time for a little demonstration, okay? And many of you have probably already done this, but I really do enjoy this. So since we've got a good room full here, would you mind just waving for me? I promise it won't show up anywhere that you won't like, okay? So, but the instant nature of this is, is pretty nice. So I think I'll tell my 18-year-old son, who's about to go to college here. And if you have children of that age group, they know everything, right? Okay. So I just want to tell them that these people are listening to your father. Thank you. Appreciate that. Technology is a wonderful thing, isn't it? So, anyway, you'll probably hear a small hum in a minute, I'm sure, but in any case. One of the things Mike's laid out for you, I think, in terms of IT in particular, is, well, three things, okay? The speed of it, the speed of change, okay, that happens, particularly in this field, and the power that it commands. So, since the iPhone, that nice little device that I was using, okay, which was not introduced to the U.S. market until 2007, okay, it's 6 years old. It's in its fifth iteration, or sixth, depending if, 4 and 4S count it as 2, already. So yes, even faster than maybe 18 months. Mike and the rest of the crew that we all cobbled together in our co-location space in 2009 for a project that will finish will see its first patient in 2015, 6 years from the time that they began, all right? So in the same span of time since whatever it was you were communicating with in the palm of your hand before you had an iPhone, a smartphone, an app phone, whatever you want to call it, okay, it's going to take up that amount of time since we began this project until we see our first patient, okay? The daunting task is that no one is going to forgive either of us, but me first, of course. I'll stand Mike up in front of me, but you know, it won't matter. But no one will forgive us, okay, if those doors open in 2015 to see our first patient and there's a dead spot and they can't get a cell phone call or send a text message or anything else that's important for them to do in the environment that we'll have in 2015, and then beyond, okay? So this forecasting ability that we've had to incorporate into the process is a lot of what Mike and his team have been helping us with, but as well as all of the other consultants. So we've had to do two things in terms of, particularly in terms of technology. One is the technology to produce the project. And he's touched on a little bit of that, and I'll show you some more of that as well. As you mentioned, we started this project in 2009. The iPad was not even on the market yet, and now it is everywhere. It's prolific. You know, every big burly guy in one of those fine, you know, bright yellow vests and hard hats has got this iPad and a little saddlebag on his back, or whatever, running around the site. Okay, it would take over 3,000 drawings to describe the 2 million square foot hospital that we're building. Okay, there is hardly a piece of paper on the site because they're able to do that electronically. That's become an invaluable tool in you know, if you've been in a construction project, and I'm an architect by training, so my background is that, you know, endless 8.5 by 11 little sketches that you have to paste onto a blueprint to say, here's the latest. But in 2 million square feet, to get that piece of information and keep it current so that they're still building the right thing the right way, okay, it would be a huge challenge. Electronically, it's booted up overnight, and they wake up the next morning, and they've got the latest and greatest everywhere for whatever they need. So it's been a huge advantage. The other piece where the technology is helping us, or actually we don't know yet, is that clairvoyance piece, okay? What is the future going to be? What is it that we're going to need in order to operate this hospital? So again, that $1 billion spent and that lack of tolerance for the inability for something to operate in 2015 that we don't know what it is yet, because 6 years ago or so, or 4 years ago when we started this project, it wasn't here yet, okay? But we have to be prepared for it. So those are the pieces that we've been struggling with, that we've been working with, that we've been planning for. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about the project and about Parkland, about the project, and kind of, you know, bring it home, if you will, in terms of how the IT component is. So I thank you all for, you guys are the diehards here, made it to the last session. So really do appreciate that, first off. For those of you who may not be aware of Parkland, of course, it's going to capture a lot of attention this year in particular because of the 50th anniversary of the JFK assassination and the like, and there'll be lots of movies and things like that. So you'll hear our name a lot. But the hospital as an institution actually has been around for quite a while in Dallas. It's been serving the underserved, the otherwise underserved, the underinsured, the non-insured. It was laid out for the indigent, okay? It shares that it still continues that reputation. However, as we said, the indigent or the uninsured lately, because of the economy, as one of our finance folks says, are much better dressed these days than they used to be. We're the hospital, the Dallas County Hospital District, so we are here for everybody. It is a comprehensive place. We are a safety net provider. We are the primary teaching hospital for UT Southwestern Medical School. We have a system of primary care clinics across the county. We experience over 1 million patient visits a year in any one of our facilities. We see basically a patient every 2 minutes. walking through our door constantly, around the clock, all the time, okay? We have level 1 trauma service, regional burn unit, level 3 NICU. These are all the highest level of care that you can have in a hospital facility. And we also provide the medical care for the Dallas County Jail System, of all things. So everybody, okay, comes to comes to Parkland. As you can see from some of these stats, if you like the numbers and stuff, we're a pretty busy place. One of the things we're kind of known for is our labor and delivery, our obstetric program. As you can see here from this little class of 1 day's worth of production, okay? So about 35 newborns a day, okay? So a kindergarten class a day is about what we're doing, okay? Another way of taking a look at it is for those of you who've been out to Jerry World or certainly know about it, the largest enclosed stadium in the NFL system seats about 80,000 people, which means that since the beginning of this project and the 6 years from the time this project began to when we see our first patients, the number of newborns from Parkland, okay, would fill the stadium, just about, okay? So we're a pretty busy place. Basically, the best way to look at Parkland is that we are responsible for being there for everybody, every time, for everything, okay? That's our charge. The original hospital, the hospital we're in now, was built in 1954, okay? And so why do we need a new one? Well, the last time you went to a hospital, whether as a patient or as a visitor, did your nurses look like this? Okay? Did your care look like this? Okay? So that's why we need a new hospital, pretty much, okay? And the basis of the original design is, everything that's sort of implied in that photograph, if you will. Not bad, good for the time, but certainly needs to be better as we move forward. Fortunately, the citizens of Dallas County agreed with us in 2008, and by an overwhelming majority, approved $705 million of bonds, which provides 60% of the budget for the $1.271 billion. That's a limit, that's a cap, I can't go over it, whatever, for the new hospital. It's actually an entire campus, but that's the price tag for the new hospital. 2 years after that bond election, we broke ground. We had our patients and our board and our major donors. We also have a significant philanthropic effort that is supporting the hospital project. Broke ground for the hospital. So, what is Parkland Hospital? You can almost see it from here, actually, if you were high enough or whatever. It's a new campus. So, I couldn't bring everybody, the whole team, here, but this will tell you a little bit about it.
Parkland Hospital was established in 1894. In 1963, President John F. Kennedy was rushed to what would eventually become the first Level 1 trauma center in Texas. As the years wore on and demand increased, the Parkland facility eventually exceeded its capacity.
We were too crowded. We were having to do many workarounds in the old building. We got every bit of juice out of that building we could possibly get for it, but the growth in the population's demand was just incredible. Last year alone, we increased ambulatory visits by 200,000.
I've been at Parkland for 22 years, and so I've experienced a lot of the challenges that it takes for a nurse to actually work in the space.
With a clear need for a new facility, the Dallas community then passed a bond election in 2008 to approve funding for the project.
I have all these ideas that I've always wanted to do in a project, and we're starting with a blank slate.
Well, this is the biggest hospital construction project in the United States today. $1.271 billion across all 38 acres of the site.
We have over 3,000 sheets of drawings just to describe the hospital building.
There's a 60-foot cantilever, and there's also a 120-foot hole. So we can have lighting go to the light wells at the neonatal intensive care units.
Our institution will be the hospital, not of last resort like it's been in the past, but the hospital of first choice.
For the first time, we have rapid transit right there on site with the brand new DART rail line that is at Parkland.
The teamwork we have on this job is unique. This job has had a spirit again of treating all the team members with respect.
We have about 1,200 guys out here on the job. I think we have, right now, we're sitting at about 40 different subcontractors. It's a joint venture with our architects, the different engineers. It's just everybody working together as one.
Projects like this perceptively move the needle. And for us to be safer and to build more quality projects and to be on time and on budget is just an extraordinary thing to be part of.
5, 10 years from now, we all will drive on 35 and see Parkland and know that we had a hand in it.
We're doing something bigger than us and something we're going to be proud of for the rest of our lives. It's very exciting.
So our construction manager, Barra, which is a 4-way joint venture, the project is so large, it took 4 construction firms to come together to do the job, produce this video along with some others, and you can find those on their website as well to talk about some of the different aspects of the project. But as you saw from some of the team members, this is part of what kind of drives the project to the level of success that we're having right now. Just as a point of comparison, the hospital building itself, because we actually are designing a whole new campus, but the hospital building itself, the first major piece is it's a 2.1 million square foot building. It's twice the size of the existing hospital. It has 865 all private adult beds. It will have 96 all private neonatal intensive care unit beds. It will open with, we're building 27 surgery suites. We'll open with 24. For that labor and delivery function, we'll have 48 labor delivery recovery rooms. And as you can see from the size here is just, pretty daunting. To put that in perspective, there was one moment in time during the course of construction where at one end of the building, we were painting drywall in the kitchen at one end on the first floor, and we were pouring the last bit of concrete on the slab at the other end of the building. So that's the size and scale of the project that we have. This is what it looks like today. It's a 17-story building, 330 feet tall. The parking deck is complete and operational for our patients and visitors. The construction will be complete a year from this month, and we expect to see our first patients sometime in the late spring or so of 2015. Now, there are other, comparisons to hospitals, to our little project. So, the other Jones in Dallas, okay, so he spent $1 billion and gave us a very, very nice stadium. We actually are about the same size scale. We're a little bit taller, use about the same amount of land and, same amount of money. And the only thing Mike couldn't get for me was the retractable roof and the large screen TV. So, so I'm pretty happy, though, if that's what I had to give up. But, we started with a vision statement, as you have to do with most projects, and it permeates everything and every decision that we made, is that the new Parkland Hospital will be a safe, welcoming, patient-centered healing environment that will serve as a sustainable resource for Dallas County. And it will promote excellence in clinical care, teaching, and research in a technologically advanced, easily accessible environment. So that is the goal of this project. So when you come to visit us in about a year or so from now, as we're given those early tours and those grand openings and things like that or whatever, hopefully we'll have that on a 3x5 card, and everything that you see will meet this particular vision. The other thing we wanted to do was to put the park back in Parkland. Our current site is pretty congested, it's pretty urban, it's pretty hard, quite frankly. Parkland's name actually comes from the wooded park land that the facility that we moved from in 1954 was on. City Parkland was donated for the original Parkland, and that's where the name came from. Over time, the site that we have on Harry Hines has gotten very congested, very urban, very asphalted and concreted, and so we've decided to green it up, quite a bit here. We're also providing an environment that's very, very different than the current hospital. What you see there on your left is our current corridor. It's a typical 1954 hospital, 8-foot wide corridor, rooms on either side. Basically what that means is that everything that needs to come to serve you as a patient or whatever has to come down that one 8-foot wide corridor. So all the staff, all the patients, all the visitors, all the supplies, all the trash carts, all the dietary carts, and the environmental services and the mop buckets and everything else has to come down that one sort of, well, think of it as rush hour when you get going to work, right? We're trying to split that up by using a series of on-stage and off-stage corridors. So we separate the traffic. The on-stage corridors are for patients and visitors. The off-stage corridors are for staff, patients and gurneys, supplies, and trash. Up on all 17 floors, a completely separate circulation system, elevators as well as corridors, to provide a much calmer environment. First off, we're using the principles of what's called evidence-based design to create a patient-centered healing environment. And one of the first tenets of those is control the noise. Control the noise, because the best thing that you want to do, tell me what you want to do when you're sick. There you go. There you go. Can't sleep with a whole lot of noise, okay? I don't think you're going to get much in that corridor on the left-hand side. We're going to try and create a calmer environment. Our current patient rooms, about 70% of them are semi-private. And as you can tell, it's a pretty congested space. All of our new rooms are private, and that allows the patient to have much more attention. It also provides a dedicated space for family to be able to reside in the room. We believe the family is your best advocate for care. They're going to take care of you better than any nurse that we have, and we have some really good ones, okay? So be sure to tell them I said that. But when Uncle Jesse's in the bed and decides that he's up and ready to go after his surgery and the anesthesia isn't a problem, whatever, and he can make it over to that bathroom, and you know better, okay, if you're sitting in that, on that sofa on the back there by the big window that we've given you, whatever, you can stop him from getting out of bed and have a fall. If he has a fall and he breaks something or fractures something, he's in our hospital for 2 to 3 more days. And we love Uncle Jesse, and we want to take care of him. But we really want him to go home. That's really where we want him, because home is the best place he's going to recover. So that's why we've provided the private room. We've given him that privacy, confidentiality, and that level of care. We also provided spaces for our nurses to operate close to the bedside. So the technology that we've placed into the building allows for a lot of mobility. Okay, we have places for them to chart in the rooms. We have places for them to chart just outside of the rooms. We have work rooms for them to chart just about anywhere. We've probably overestimated the amount of counter space for laptops that we need, because chances are by the time we're opening, they'll be doing more out of something in their pocket than something that has to sit on a counter. But best guess at the time for what we have to work with is the kind of spaces that we've created. Just to give you a flavor, this is our current neonatal intensive care unit. It has about 80 spaces, very crowded spaces. We're going to give each baby a private room. That's not so much for baby, okay, because they're about that big, right? But it's for mom and dad to take care of baby, okay, and allow for that nurturing to be able to take effect. Also, in terms of technology, we see the technology to raise our neonatal infants and our preemies, which are getting younger and younger and younger, takes more and more equipment. The babies are smaller, but the equipment's bigger. So we need the room for that, which we can't possibly get in our current space. It also allows us to take care of multiples in the same environment. Parkland has had 2 or 3 sets of even quintuplets, actually. So we can't quite fit all 5 in here, but we can give a better environment that's closer together. Our surgery suites, I said we're going to open with 24 surgery suites. We have 18 now. When the hospital was completed and built and opened in 1954, it opened with 18 surgery suites. We are in the same ones. Yes, we are. Okay, trying to do 21st century medicine, okay, in a mid-20th century facility. We're doing very well. It's very busy, but it's also very small and cramped. So we're going to give them the surgery suite that they all asked for. And there are 24 of those. They're all arranged pretty much the same way. They're highly flexible. They're very integrated. This is one of these high-tech spaces. So you can see the lights, you can see the screens that are here. It is all connected. Since we are a teaching facility for UT Southwestern, it is possible that what we will be able to do inside of these surgery suites is to beam this information out to classes either next door, across the street, or the next town or whatever, to be able to observe and learn from the surgery that's happening in these spaces. So, tell you a little bit then, show you a better idea of the whole project so you have a sense. So a year from now, just about the entire campus will be done, but the hospital itself will be complete. The hospital is a 2 million square foot building. There's about another 500,000 square foot of ambulatory clinic space that's on the campus. As you approach from downtown, you'll come up the main street on the campus we call Parkland Boulevard. That leads you past the front door as you go to the garage to park your car. We want to make wayfinding easy and intuitive, so you kind of know where the entrance is because you're going to go past it as you come in. You can also ride by DART, mass transit. Station will be right at the edge of the campus, right next to our med-surg clinic. The first 4 floors, the first 1 million square feet of our building, is our diagnostic and treatment platform. So all of our imaging suites, our surgery suites, labor delivery, our NICU, our emergency department, which is basically our front door to the hospital, is all in that podium structure. Those are 200,000 square foot floor plates. Quite large. It's about 800 feet end to end. As you come up on the mid tower, you have our ICU units, our specialty units for burn, the low tower for labor delivery, and the high tower for our other medicine surgery units. The entry area is a 3-story atrium. It's daylit, allowing you to be oriented from the time that you get in, and leads only to the public elevators, okay? So you can't get to those back-of-house off-stage elevators unless you're with me or you know the secret password, one or the other. It faces out onto our 1-acre wellness park, and it forms a concourse around the perimeter of the building. So you'll always have orientation to where you are on the first floor of the hospital to get you from one end to the other. The cafeteria is at the end of that concourse. It's a bright, open, daylit space. It also opens out onto the wellness park. And, you know, for the few days out of the year that you can actually eat outdoors in Texas, you'll be able to do that. Up on the floors, we have our on-stage, off-stage corridor system, our workrooms in a core area with its own dedicated corridors. Lots of hoteling spaces for the staff to be able to do their work. We're allowing them the flexibility to be mobile in terms of where they can do their work. They don't have to sit and be fixed. In fact, they're so unfixed, there is no central nursing station in this hospital. Okay? We have 865 all private rooms and very large views to the outside for daylight and for connection to nature. So that's the project, okay? That's what it's about. That's what we're building down there on Harry Hines. And so the challenge, of course, is what we've talked about, is planning for the future. The problem with the future is, well, it never quite comes when you expect it. Okay? So a little over 70 years ago, somebody said this will be a 21st century city. Anybody know where this is? Okay? No, I don't even think they're building this in the Middle East. So, but that's what the future was going to look like. Okay? We know a little different. However, it does look like this. So sometimes the future gets ahead of what's predicted. We do have, you know, voice-controlled, you know, touch button, you know, speak in the air type communication devices that are used in healthcare. We do have Bluetooth devices. We do have. Okay. So the future is here in many cases, okay? The question is, are we ready for it? Okay, and can we be ready for, if this is all we're thinking about, are we ready for what's the next thing to think about? We haven't quite figured out how to miniaturize people yet, but we have been able to figure out how to get that same sort of view inside if you need to. We talked about the iPad, which, you know, reality following fiction, and medical devices are actually getting to be to the size of their fictional counterparts. Okay, so everything's geared to be handheld, gesture-based, okay, app-driven, and cloud accessed. All right, that's a very different type of environment for healthcare. Okay, which you may think of as sort of, you know, the clipboard-like central station, rolling paper, folder-driven, you know, type of exercise. We're actually a little bit past that, but nonetheless, it's getting smaller, it's getting more mobile, and it's getting more connected. So how to manage this particular component of the project. It's a hefty dollar value, okay, but it's vital to the functionality that we're trying to build into the flexibility that we want to have in this billion-dollar hospital. So we mentioned production. So we're using these tools as best we can to make the production as easy as possible. I want to spend the money in the building, okay? I want to spend the right amount of money producing the building, but I don't want to spend more than I have to. So I want to use the best tools that I can to promote the type of communication and collaboration that I need to be effective, okay? And to not have to, you know, circle around, you know, too many times until we get the answer. So we've developed a collaborative space. We put everybody in there. So in case they don't like talking electronically, they can actually talk face-to-face. Okay, my son would have a problem with that, but these guys, you know, not so much. And so that has really helped us a lot. But we need the IT infrastructure to support this as well. So word of warning, when you go to do this on a large-scale project and you're bringing multiple consultants together into a co-location space, it's a very effective process to do that, but you need to make sure that whatever you had planned as far as your IT backbone or whatever to support all of that at one time is sufficient in order to allow that to happen. The design, of course, and what we need for functionality is the fact that the equipment that we're going to have, to say the least, is more and more of it's going to get smarter and smarter, okay? And it's all going to talk to the same network in some way, shape, or form. Parkland is fortunate enough that we've been an electronic medical record system now for a handful of years, so we've been an early adopter of that. What we're now finding is that more and more of the equipment is able to talk directly to that system, capable of doing it. We're doing it in some cases. In the new hospital, we expect it to do more. That means that the nurse, who has to take your temperature and all that kind of stuff sort of manually, is going to be doing less and less of that because the bed is going to be smart enough to figure out what your pulse is and the like. We want to track all of the equipment with RFID or RTLS, okay? And depending on the precision that we want for that in terms of room or whatever, we'll be able to watch it go. The communication system that we have, and we have this large screen in each of our patient rooms. Right now, it'll act kind of traditionally, you know, it'll be the TV and the like or whatever, but it is designed to have the capability for two-way communication. It's designed to have the capability for menu ordering for meals. It's designed to have the capability for the physician to use that to explain your case and throw up your imaging and your x-rays and tell you and your family, who will be in the room with you, a lot about your case. It will be a tool for you to interact with your environment. And then, of course, the charting and the tools that the nurse and the physicians are going to need, as well as the education component that we need to have for our residents. So, in order to do all that, we need to make sure we've got the supporting infrastructure to do it. Our server rooms had to be a little larger than typical because we need to be able to expand. We don't have all of that. We haven't bought all of that communication right now, okay? Budget's only $1.271 billion. But we have to plan for the future. So those rooms have to be a little larger. to support all that for what's coming. We talked about our distributed antenna system. Typically, it might look something like this. We've doubled the density to make sure we don't have any dead zones, and we hope we're right. Okay, that's the scary thing. All of that equipment being able to talk all at one time to do it effectively, we'll see. In construction, as well, the other level of production efficiency that we're getting, very electronic. The top image there shows you our VCM, our Visualization, Collaboration, and Modeling Room. Okay, on a regular basis, what happens? The contractor gets together with their subs and the staff or whatever. We're using building information modeling, which means that our hospital, there is a virtual 3D counterpart to our physical building, lodged somewhere out there in the cyber world, that has been thrown up on that screen on a regular basis. At minimum, we've done the clash detection to make sure that pipes and wires don't interfere with each other before we built them in sheet metal and pipes and concrete and steel and the like, or whatever. Reduce them to virtually nil, and then go and fabricate off of that final drawing. What do they say? Measure twice, cut once. That's what we're doing. That's what this is. Okay. We have electronic plan room, which is the middle photo that you see there. We do have a set of paper drawings because, well, that's what's required by the state. They want to see the paper. It's off somewhere. It's one set virtually on the entire project. That's how we look at our plans. And then out in the field, we're using the iPad that was not on the market when we started the project. Okay. Taking use of all the tools. Next step, of course, is in terms of operation. We've used BIM, and we'll talk a little bit about that in detail, and then how those tools then can be used for simulation, both in terms of medical simulation and also simulation in terms of teaching of how to operate in this new environment. Okay, so BIM is building information modeling. It is a tool that step up from CAD, so it's the 3D version, but it actually is more than that. It has several dimensions to it. Third dimension you may be familiar with. You've seen that. It can generate renderings and that sort of thing. But we've also used the fourth dimension of BIM, which is time. Actually, what our contractor was able to do was actually able to model in BIM his construction process, so that by virtually laying out which pieces he was going to build first, when he was going to put up cranes, where he was going to put those, how he was going to lay those out, would help him then develop his schedule for the efficient production of this project. And that worked out pretty well. We are on schedule, if not even a little bit ahead. But we're able to lay this out in the virtual world before we had to kind of do it by trial and error in the real world. So then there's the fifth dimension of BIM. Okay. So now the fifth dimension is cost. Okay. Now that I have a full virtual model that's showing me every last little bit and piece or whatever in there, if I can tag each element, okay, with its value, I can get an extremely accurate estimate about what the cost of the building is, and that's what our cost estimators have done with this project in the earlier stage of this. So the good news is that yes, we are on budget. In fact, we're so far on budget, we are actually less than 1% in terms of the number of change orders from our original guaranteed max price that we gave the board at design development till today. We have a 0.075 or whatever % deviation from that. Okay? All right? I like that. I really do. Okay. And then, of course, there's the sixth dimension. Okay? So the next step is how can I use, since I run the facilities division, how can I use all of that wealth of information for the next thing that I have to do? After I build it, I have to run it. Okay? And what the sixth dimension, or 6D BIM, allows me to do is begin to consider using that model as the base for all the other systems that I need to monitor, all the other systems that I need to utilize in order to operate the facility. This is a little cutting edge. We're still experimenting with this to see what systems we can use. There doesn't seem to be one that does all. Now, there are a lot of systems that say they do it all. What we found out is that that's sort of kind of maybe true, maybe, kind of. But what we found is that there are a lot of individual systems that do individual things very well, and if we can find something that integrates them all, that we might be able to get something of a model like this in order to be able to kind of see everything all in one place using BIM as the basic background. Okay? So when you're doing all this, though, you've got to think about these things. Right now, IT construction and the technical piece right now, we're approximately, is about 10% of the total construction cost. That's a little higher than if you're just doing that low voltage estimate that everybody uses in that baseline, which is about half as much. So it's about twice as much in order to have it to this degree. The space that you need for the server rooms and the like or whatever is a little higher too, especially if you're going to allow for that elbow room for growth. You also have to accommodate then the infrastructure needed to support all that. Unfortunately, the computers and the servers still generate a lot of heat, and that has to be dissipated or whatever. Your systems have to be upgraded in order to support that future volume, because you don't want to be changing that ductwork system sometime in the future either. And the plan for expansion, that also includes your emergency power. So you need to make sure that as these systems become more integral to, from our standpoint, direct patient care, then the number of systems that you need to keep operating when the main power goes out, starts to escalate. So the network becomes a critical system that has to operate during times of regular power outage. So what's the forecast? Well, we know a couple things are coming up that we need to be ready for. There's probably going to be more video and telepresence. And that is, we're a teaching hospital. That's likely to, we're not likely to have as many residents, if you will, directly present. They may be doing this more remotely or telecommuting, if you will, to learn about their procedures. 3D imaging is going to become more prevalent, is going to become more detailed, it's going to take more data, and it's going to become more mobile. So we've got to be prepared for that. Mike already talked about smart services, the way that just about anything is going to become able to provide an interface for what you need into the computer. I'm waiting for the day when I finally, as an architect, will be able to actually have an air diagram and just, I think we're almost there. And then, of course, mobility and convergence. All of these things now able to be controlled in the palm of your hand and less fixed or wall-based or even on wheels. That seems to be the other trends that are happening and we're trying to accommodate. So the biggest challenge, of course, is culture. All right, change is always hard. Right, that's what you struggle with a lot of times in program management is the change that you're making. The opportunity is great and everybody's high on that, and then you kind of tell them what it looks like and say, well, I didn't mean that exactly. Problem with technology, as you mentioned, it changes 2 to 3 years, 18 months or so in the case of more mobile devices. And I've got a year or more just to finish the construction. I've got 18 months before I open and see my first patient. I've been working on it for 4 years. Can you imagine how much change has happened over that time? You've got to be careful, particularly in technology, because there's a lot of whiz-bang stuff that's out there as well. It's cool to have, but you don't really need it sometimes. So you have to be careful of what our former CIO called the electric fork, or the fork app. Okay, that is applying technology to something that really, really, really doesn't need that technological improvement. Okay, there's no good reason to electrify a fork, or computerize a fork. It just doesn't help you much anyway. Okay, on the flip side, there's the screwdriver app, and that is the one that actually truly can help you. Okay. But here's the problem, is that everybody's so locked into what a screwdriver is that while you have the new tool to do the job, they're still operating it like this. Okay? So now you spent the money and you're not getting the benefit out of it. And everybody wants to know why I'm not more efficient. Okay? The last thing, and we coined this term for our project, is what we call the air conditioning mistake. Air conditioning mistake is the catastrophic error that you make on a project, the thing that gets missed that everybody knows they should have had, but for some reason they compromised themselves out of it. When Parkland Hospital was constructed in 1954 in Dallas, Texas, it did not install a central air conditioning system. They decided to save $4 million by not installing. It wasn't a technology problem. The systems were there. It was a cost-saving measure. It was a thought process, if you will. The idea is that this was the public hospital. It shouldn't necessarily have amenities that were above and beyond maybe its community or nonprofit counterparts. And since at the time, the Methodists, Baylors, whatever, their hospitals, which they probably subsequently replaced shortly thereafter, but since they didn't have air conditioning, why should the public hospital have air conditioning? 10 years later, almost 10 years to the year later, Parkland finally got the money from the board to retrofit a central air conditioning system into the hospital. I have not found what the cost is, but I guarantee you it was at least twice the original cost, okay? So we coined the term the air conditioning mistake. We want to make sure that we don't rationalize out something that is so fundamental and obvious that's necessary in a building of $1 billion, okay, that after we're done, somebody's going to say, what were you thinking? And why didn't you do that? It's so terribly obvious. And so those are some of the things you do have to watch out for. So our goal has been not to create the hospital of the future because, as I mentioned, you don't know when the future is going to come. We want to create a hospital for the future. It's flexible, it's adaptable, it can change. It's able to accommodate as best as we can predict what the future might be, particularly in this realm of IT, which is hard to grasp, but we know some of the trends that are coming. And we've tried to incorporate that into the infrastructure of the project and keep it on time and on budget. So using these tools to produce the project that we need for the future of Dallas County. So there is more information that's available if you'd like to see some of the other cool stuff there and whatever, and on all the wonderful social sites that you can imagine. Okay. Anyway, thank you very much.
Video over there.
Okay, you use the iPads in the field and everywhere. Did you harden them, encase them, or do anything to adapt them to a construction site?
Sure. Okay, so the question is, were the iPads in the field, are they hardened and put in cases and things like that because we're on a construction site? Yes, the answer is yes. They are not naked iPads. So yeah, they are rubberized and fortified and industrialized or whatever for the site that they're in. Yes. Yeah, exactly. Tough box.
What happens to old Parkland?
Okay.
And are you going to use anything that's in the facility to move into the new one?
Right. Okay. So question is, what happens to old Parkland? The number one question that's always asked on the project. And are we going to use anything from the existing facility in the new facility? So to what's going to happen to old Parkland, that is still being discussed, quite frankly. So nothing definite yet. There have been late discussions about reusing some of the facilities in there because over the past 4 years or so, we've continued to see an escalation in volumes in some of the areas, and we only have $1.271 billion to spend on the new campus or whatever. So we don't want to, repeat the same crowding conditions and like. But there's more to come on that. To number two, in terms of anything that we're bringing over, the answer to that is yes. One of the strategies that we adopted in terms of our medical equipment, which is sort of, technological as well, is that we are not standing up the new hospital with all new equipment at one time. Now, it would make it easier to open it because it'd be able to all open at one time or whatever, but the sense is that because the equipment changes so rapidly, somewhere between 3 to 5 years from now, guess what? We'd want to change it all out again. and there's no budget in the world that would support that. So the idea is that we will reuse, we say figuratively, about half of the medical equipment for the new hospital will come from the existing hospital. Now, it makes our transition a little challenging, okay, because we can't take it out one day and put it in the other day. It's not exactly plug and play. But we are working on what the strategy is in order to be able to migrate that, and then we can continue to replace the equipment on, as it becomes obsolete in a more reasonable manner. Yes, up at the top.
I had a question. Does your new hospital include a system to deliver drugs throughout the hospital? An automated?
Okay. Those drugs, yes. I thought we had to meet outside or something. So the drug delivery system, you're right. So as we go to a decentralized model, actually, there's been a lot of discussion then about how we deliver supplies and the like of any sort or whatever to the nurses at the room and at those niches you saw in the card and like. One of the things we have decided is that we currently use Pyxis, which is an automated drug dispensing machine, like a vending machine for drugs, but you need the card and stuff that it's not for you, it's for the nurses, okay, or whatever. Those will probably though end up being centralized because of the control nature that you need to have for accessing the pharmaceuticals. Pharmaceuticals, right? Yes, that's what we're talking about, right? Okay.
I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about how you're planning to secure all this data you're going to have. And as a follow-up, are the doctors going to be able to use their own devices to show and to show the X-rays and those kind of things?
Okay. I don't know, Mike. Is that you got a thought on that?
The data center is secure with access control, and there's cameras throughout the entire hospital. If you're talking about data storage and data security, that's more of really Parkland IT. And I don't know that they've selected their data storage choice, if you will, yet. The other question, I'm sorry? Yeah, they're working on a device plan right now, and I'm not sure if it's going to be a bring your own device or it's going to be a device plan where they, check them out, if you will, to the doctors or the staff. But that is all part of the planning that's in place. Especially the move activation plan where we're moving stuff over from the other hospital. Because they're still buying new equipment right now to replace obsolete equipment, so.
Good. Okay.
Okay, we're,
One more.
All right. I just wanted to ask, any of the technology companies, either medical or phone, do they participate or volunteer to assist what their plans were without telling you any secrets?
We got lots of volunteers, as you might imagine. Okay, for the size of the project and the like or whatever. But I think Mike can talk more to the type of interaction we had with some of the companies. And he mentioned that earlier. But
It is a county project, and so there's a lot of procedures and processes you have to go through as far as vendors and signing up. So everything goes out to bid and so on and so forth. I would say that there probably has been some consulting or outside help from some of these companies, maybe with people who have been selected to work on the project, contractors and whatnot to help, but as far as, I'm not aware of anybody giving anything to Parkland, if you will.
Thank you.
hey, gentlemen, you showed us Jerry Jones's for fun, and that was awesome. You showed us your castle for serious, and that is awesome to the end. I want to tell you, that is something to behold. And you got your arm around a bunch of problems.
Got some good people.
Okay, well, no problems start getting you down, you can't find a solution, I got something. Just sit back, fill these up with something that you enjoy. Arm your feet up and you may solve the problem.
It doesn't solve them, it'll make them feel